Hey, what is going on, fight fans? It is Tuesday night and it is 10:15, and I know the millions and millions of viewers are checked into what we call Fight Club 215. With myself, I'm the special guest tonight, with, of course, the main host, Joey Woods. What is going on, Joey?
What's up? Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for chopping on and being our guest host today.
Thank you so much, man. It's glad to be back, man. I love UFC and I love listening to you and Chris speak. Unfortunately, Chris tonight his plans got a little adjusted because at his work he got called in. So hey, Chris, don't work too hard out there, man. We miss you, brother. We'll see you next week for all you Chris Diedrich fans out there. He will be back next week with Joey Woods, and my ugly butt will be off the screen. So hey, you'll get more viewers that way, Joey. But hey, man, let's talk about this real quick, Joey. I don't know if you checked into this fight here. Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez last week. Did you watch a little bit of this now or no, Joey?
I actually didn't get check this out. There was just a lot of events happening this weekend. So this wasn't one of the ones that I actually tuned into.
Okay, let me tell you, Joey, you didn't miss much. We're boxing fans, and Shakur Stevens, man, this guy put on a show last week. I mean, it to me, it was like a varsity football player boxing a freshman football player on the field, basically what it was. He could have knocked him out in first round. I mean, it was just left jab, uppercut, combo, right, left. It was just, I mean, if you're a boxing fan, you loved watching this guy prepare because this guy doesn't prepare for just a boxing match. He prepares for who he's fighting. He does his homework on each individual fighter. I mean, he changed his game. Joey, it was just insane the way this guy fought. I think he ended up with like 74% body hits, and I think Valdez only recovered like 19 hits on him. It was that bad of a fight.
It almost sounds like I could only envision like when you're putting your hand on your younger brother's head while they're trying to swing away at you and you're just
So funny you
teeing
said
off
that,
on them
Joey.
from
That's
the way.
exactly what Shakur did. That's exactly what he did. I mean, it was just like he was so Shakur Stevens was just so on the upper class of Oscar Valdez. He put his hand on the kid's forehead to the point where the ref was saying, "Hey, stop, stop." I mean, if you're Shakur, it's like, dude, I'm just having fun right now. I'm ready to knock
Yeah.
you out any time. But Joey,
Now
let me
was is
just
Oscar was
yeah.
he a
What did I
big
miss?
name
So I heard
opponent?
some
Was
rumors.
he a
I
big
heard
name
some rumors.
opponent or was it just kind of like someone he had to face because you know how with boxing they
Well,
usually have
no,
like
this
those
is the
mandatory.
unified champion. I mean, Oscar Valdez was a champion on the other end too. He held a belt. This was for the unified championship. So Shakur Stevens is basically he's on his way to be one of the best pound for pound fighters in boxing history now. You know, I mean, it was he had to fight him. So I mean, this
Okay.
was so outclassed, Joey. Oscar Valdez. I mean, I even thought about it. I said, well, Oscar Valdez has the heart of a giant. He's small. He's fast. But it was just 8 rounds of him trying to protect himself. This wasn't even a boxing match, which basically showcased Shakur Stevens being the top notch boxer in his division. There's nobody going to touch this guy. Like I don't even know. I don't think he's legitimate top of the cream of the crop. There's nobody going to touch him.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I was asked that just because you know at boxing a lot of times a lot of these promoters will let their boxers fight trash cans to kind of
Yeah,
get their records up just to
right.
kind of earn their pocket. You never really get to see the best boxers fight the best boxers. So that's pretty much why I
Yeah.
was
I mean,
asking that.
I love this fight because I mean, I tuned into it. I was waiting for it. You know, two boxing champions, but disregard to their in the same division, but it had to happen. But Shakur Stevens just came out and said, "Hey, listen, I'm the pound per pound fighter here, and
Yeah.
you're going to see a show tonight." It was over in round one when he done it to. I mean, there was a slip, I believe, in round five where Shakur hit him, and he did hit him. And Oscar Valdez said he slipped, but after the replay, it was clear, a 10-8 round. But I think Oscar Valdez won one round where Stevenson just played around with him a little bit, but it was just,
Kind of gave him it.
yeah, it was just an overclass fight, Joey. But I mean, after the fight, I was so hyped up, dude. I ran outside, like, had to walk my dog. I had to cool off because I mean, Shakur Stevens is one of my favorite fighters. But I'm hearing something happen like after the fight. I didn't miss it. I was trying to see the video, but I didn't get a chance to see it, Joey. What happened?
Yeah, so I mean, I was scrolling Facebook. I was watching a different fight that night, and I was scrolling Facebook, and I actually seen, like the post fight conference where they do like interviews with the media and stuff. It was at MGM, and he was actually doing an interview with the media, and all you see is him sprint off stage,
Wow.
and then the conference just ends. So everyone was kind of speculating what was going on. I just saw today actually that it was reported that two women actually confronted Stevenson's mom and
Huh.
actually was assaulting her at at MGM during the media coverage,
Oh,
and it led to a huge melee
yeah.
at the event. I guess the girls had some boyfriends there, and they were battling with Stevenson's crew and stuff. It was just an ugly scene. You hate to see it after such a
Yeah,
huge win like you're talking about, and then that kind of now generates and kind of takes all the media attention away from his
right,
brilliant
right.
performance, and it's now on his mom was assaulted at the MGM. Now I don't the full story isn't out yet, so I'm not sure if the mom instigated it and then
Yeah.
that led to her being assaulted, or if these ladies just were trying to get rich quick and attack the mom and rob her. I'm not really sure.
Wow.
But from what they're saying is two women attacked her, and then it just led to a ginormous brawl.
Yeah, just
Um,
like you said, it takes away from the sport. I mean, it was Shakur's night. He won. He's a unified, title holder now. And for some BS like that to happen, I mean, you don't know. I mean, you don't know what can happen. I mean, hopefully, it ends, the beef between these guys and whatever happened. We don't know, the ins and outs of it, but it takes away from the sport, man.
yeah,
It's like I hate seeing that. It's just like, you win a title somehow, then your family or your loved ones or your friends or whatever just take you down and ruin your name, man. Like, look, let's be happy, be
yeah.
praised and blessed that the guy, your friend, family won the championship and take it, leave it right there. You don't need this BS, man. It's just bad for the sport to me, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my
Mm,
biggest thing was like my mind jumping to is he's a big name guy now. He's
right,
top of the food chain, like you said. Like we're unfortunately we're in a world now where it's 2022. You don't know who's carrying what. So I just thought it would. I mean, I know it's his mother and stuff, but the level of
that,
exactly the
you
level
know,
you're at now in Las Vegas, where the free for all happening.
right,
Maybe you let your crew handle that and make sure your mom's okay, but you don't get involved with that just because you don't know nowadays. People will take that them assaulting you or them shooting whatever they do to you, and they'll use that as a notch on their belt because of who you are. So I
ex-
think maybe that just overall was a very dumb decision. I mean, I know it's your mother, like I said, and you always want to protect your mom, but you got to be smarter now at the level you are at now.
exactly. I mean, Joey, I've known you my entire life, basically, going back since you were basically like 6, 7 years old,
Yeah.
and let's give a shout out to your sister real quick, Mackenzie Wood, who turns 21 today. Happy birthday, Mackenzie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I
an
mean,
ongoing joke in my family. She's been 21 for about 6 years.
wow. It's like, okay, back in the day, Joe, you disrespected somebody's mom, you want to go out there and whip their ass. But, you got
Yeah,
to
you
remember
can't
what
do
this
that.
dude's at. He's on top of the food chain, and one bad PR rep with this guy can take you down,
Yep.
from your fandom to basically down to, you're hated in the world of boxing. But, I just wish that, people like that, just like you said, would let their crews handle it, let it happen off camera. If there's a beef between you, get off the stage, get it done with Oprah else. Just don't put it on the WEO, WBA boxing world, for people to see. Don't ruin your name and image, man.
Exactly.
Number one. But Joey, I know you watched the fight. I heard I didn't get a chance to watch this, Joey, but I heard there was a spectacle in Madison Square Garden. Tell me about this fight.
Yeah, there was. So, I just wanted to tune in this fight mainly. I don't follow women boxing
Mhm.
hugely, just because it's not really broadcasted as much. Women's sports across the board
Right.
is definitely not broadcasted enough for us to know truly about. But this one kind of caught my attention just because it broke history. It was the first time ever two women main event at Madison Square Garden. And I believe they were, if not sellout, close to a sellout.
I believe it
Katie
was. I
Taylor,
believe it
yeah,
was. I think they did sell out like the biggest, one of the top fights in MSG history. Yeah.
which is saying something. Two women. Katie Taylor was big Irish prospect. Now she's no longer, now she's top of the world. And I honestly, not gonna lie, kind of forgot about it in the beginning because it started a little bit earlier than what you normally think of a boxing match of that caliber to start. So I put it on at like 11 o'clock ish, and the fight was almost over. And I'm like, this is a boxing match, right? We don't start at 8 o'clock in the. So it was, but from what I saw in the judging, it was a split decision. And then the commentators afterwards, they
Mhm.
were they were calling it fight of the year candidate,
Wow. Yeah,
which is
I gotta go back
saying
and watch this,
something.
yeah. I definitely got to go back and watch that.
Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
and
Especially
I
with
was
two women fighting, and they get the honor of fighting at MSG,
exactly.
the mecca center of sports entertainment,
Yeah.
and they headline this. Like, that's insane. That's insane, and that tells you a lot about the women's sports, Joey. Like you said, it's really not broadcast. We really don't see a lot. Even in the UFC, we don't see it that much. Once in a while, we might get like a main card or like a not an undercard, but the co-main
I
event.
know what you mean, yeah.
Well, it's hard. I mean, this tells you something. That this fight, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, that they showcase it that much. I mean, this
Yeah.
props to them for doing it, man. And hopefully women's boxing and they'll be out there, man. This is good for them. It's good for the sport actually itself.
It definitely is good for the sport. For me personally, it was a little hard to support Amanda just because of who her training partner is. She trains with like Jake Paul and stuff.
Yeah.
So she was just chirping the whole week leading up to it. So it was just a little hard
I
to
mean,
get behind her.
PR game in your corner, like Jake Paul,
Yeah.
one of the best PR guys out there. So hey, you know what? I understand, training partner with him, but he's the biggest PR guy out there.
Yeah, he's probably one
I
of the
mean,
biggest names in boxing right now, which is a little sad to say.
exactly. For a YouTube guy, it's million viewers becomes a boxer, and he's like one of the biggest draws in charity pay-per-view boxing now. The Paul brothers,
Yeah.
like my God.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
yeah,
so it was just shocking. And leading up to the fight, they were all predicting that it was going to be a huge overwhelming crowd support for Taylor just because the Irish travel
mhm,
amazingly. New York is easy to get to. It's one of the biggest airports in
right,
America, so it's really easy for them to get to. Um but with Amanda's roots and her background, there was actually a lot of support for her. I mean, there was the cheers when she walked into the arena were I would say almost louder than Taylor's, which was shocking also,
oh wow,
just because you expect the Irish to travel good for their own. And
yeah,
they did travel good, but they still were out. They were outweighed there, which was a little shocking to me.
right. Now, did you watch the end of the fight though? Correct, you did.
I did.
Do you agree with the scorecard being that decision or no?
Um,
I'm hearing a lot of people say it could have gone either way.
I think it could go either way. I think you have. I mean, regardless of the outcome, I think you already. That's one of the fights watching it that you
Mhm,
knew they had to run back,
okay,
just because it was so close. When a boxing match generates that much buzz for the women and
right,
it was that close, you have to run it back. The next it's like look at the Wilder Fury fight. Even
right.
though it was that close, you have to run it back. There's no way around it. You have to just do it again.
Right, because I wish I could pull this image up, Joe. I'm looking at it now, and the scorecard was actually 93-96 1, 93-97 1, and 96-94. Like to me, we talk about this all the time, Joey. I don't know if people their judges are watching the same fight happen. How can you have a biased decision versus, a 93 or 96-93, and then
Yeah,
for two judges and have the other judge completely opposite?
the opposite way,
What
like
is
literally the opposite score.
like what is it? Is it the view that they're seeing? Because I mean, a lot of punches, Joey, you see, you're in a nosebleed seat or you're a little bit farther back and you hear a little contact. You think it might be, an uppercut or a face jab, right to the face there. But a lot of times that hits the glove. You think it's just maybe that judge not seeing it correctly or just hearing the impact and saying, "Oh, that was a strike, that was a hit." What do you think it is, Joey?
I think a biggest portion of it is accountability. I
Okay.
think if we there's always been that um, suggestion of live scoring where
Mhm.
after maybe if it's a 12-round fight, third, 6, 9, 12, the judges have to release their scorecard.
Right.
That way, one, the fighters know where they're at on the scorecard. If they're down, they know they have to press. If
Do you,
they're up, I mean, it's a reversal, but
right.
it does good, and then everyone knows that they see the score all along, so they say, "Wait, they just gave that round to that boxer. There was no way," and
Right.
that makes everyone be accountable. Then, so that way, when it comes to the 12th round, there is no surprises.
Do you think that's a good idea for the fighter standpoint, Joe? Let's just me and you get into it, and we're in a 12-round slugfest, and I take the first 5 rounds, and you come back and win the, 6th through the 11th round. So let's just say you're up 6-5. Do you think that's a good standpoint for me to say, you know what, hey, because a lot of times it comes down to your corner saying, hey, you're down
Yeah.
in this round. The only way you're going to win this fight if you knock this guy out. Do you think that's a good idea to tell? Let's just use vice versa. Like to me, it's going to be great because hey, Paul, you're down. You're down 6-5. Final round, you got to knock Joey out. Don't leave this to a decision. But on the other standpoint, Joey, if your corner says, "Hey, Joey, you're up, 6-5. I want you to dance around. Avoid this.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, definitely. Just because, like you said, if you know you're up, you're staying away. But if you know you're down, you're
Right,
charging in. But I think that's kind of unless it's a very close fight,
right,
that's usually what happens anyway.
right. I agree.
At least now we know there's not going to be any funky scorecards. Because
Yeah,
you can see it across the board throughout the fight.
mhm,
Because I mean, you typically fighters have it, the corners have a good sense of the scorecard, or at least what the scorecard should be.
Right.
So I think knowing for sure would definitely cause more running, but I
Mm,
also think if it's a 6-6 if it's a 6-5 fight like you said, um, it just causes, I think, no more question marks and no more
right.
allowing the judges to get off easy. Now everyone sees every round for what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
And really it's like, how can you judge it that way? Because you just saw it. You know what I mean? Like watching it back is a little different from watching it live. If we're watching the same thing live, we don't have the replays to show us. We can judge it right at the point, just like
Exactly.
the judges are. I just think something needs to change because there's too much, and you hate to use the word corruption,
Mhm.
but when the amount of money is in play with boxing that there is, it
Right.
always leads you to believe maybe something is up just because some of these fights, I go back to the biggest fight that I say corruption, and you'll probably agree with this. Pacquiao Bradley won.
Don't get me started, Joey. Don't get me started with that, please.
Pacquiao Bradley won. If that wasn't corruption, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's a corruption world. I don't want to say we already said the word, but hey, listen,
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's our biased opinion, what we want to say. But listen, I think you're right because it sucks for the fighters. I mean, Joey, we both talk about betting odds and things like that. And it's just, sometimes when you're scared to place a bet because you don't know if these refs, like a lot of times these fights go to a decision. And based on these refs, it's hard to make a decision, even betting wise, because especially in the UFC, I mean, it's 3 round fights. That swing round means the world to these guys,
Yeah.
and
UFC, I think, is
it's hard
harder
to
to
bet.
judge even than boxing, just
Yeah,
because like there's so much interpretation of what a 10-8 round is. At least in
exactly.
boxing, a knockdown is a 10-8
Mhm.
round.
Right,
In UFC, if you're controlling the ground game, is that a 10-8 round? It's just
exactly.
hard to judge. So yeah, definitely UFC. But I don't even think it's betting, Paul. Especially that Bradley Pacquiao fight. If you remember, Pacquiao was contemplating retirement when that
Right,
fight happened.
right.
Arum is the promoter of both fighters.
Hmm.
So if he causes Pacquiao to lose and Bradley wins, it raises Bradley's stock up, causes
Yeah,
Pacquiao stock to go down. That way, if Pacquiao retires, he still has another fighter that's going to bring him in the money. So I just
exactly.
think it's more than just the betting. Betting, I think, now plays a part, but especially in boxing, I feel like the promoters have a huge hand.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, it's I hate to say it, it reminds me of the days of like a Don King out there. You remember him, Joey? You
I
know,
do.
about
Crazy
promoting
hair guy.
out there. Yeah, the crazy dude with the crazy head, hair. But to me, it's like sometimes, like if me and you were fighting Joey, and you know what, he promotes both fights because it's on the Don King network, whatever the hell it was called back then. Either way, hey, listen, guys, let's make it go to the edge. I'm going to give you a rematch, and you guys made 10 million. Next time, you can make 50 million each.
Yeah.
To me, that's what the world of boxing, even a lot of sports, has come to. Even in the UFC. I know you're a Conor McGregor huge fan, and
Yeah.
I can't say no wrong about the guy with you, but to me, he's the biggest name draw out there. As soon as he comes back, it's like, hey, you're the biggest name. Let's put you on a card and let's make some money here. And
Oh
giving
yeah,
you
definitely.
the bad name and saying, hey, it's not about working your way up. It's about who your promoter is,
It's a
who
business,
how much money
at
you.
the end of the day, it's a business still. It's a
Exactly
sport,
right.
but the number one thing that keeps the sport going is the business aspect.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk about this next one, Joe. We got a card coming up pretty soon. It's Canelo versus Bibble. What do you think about this one, Joey?
Canelo, in the world of just boxing overall, I think he's just a level above
Mhm.
everyone. I just think Canelo now, is just he's just different level. I just think he's above everyone in terms of who his opponents now and just looking down the line of who he can face. I
Right.
really wish this Canelo, who we currently have here at this time, could have first Mayweather in his prime. I still think Mayweather wins, but I
Yeah.
think it's a much closer fight than that first one.
Well, didn't that go to a decision also? That first fight went to a decision if I'm right, correct?
It did, but it wasn't a close decision.
Okay. 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 Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna have different opinions here. I think Canelo gets I think he loses this fight, Joey. I
You
think he loses.
do.
I do. I mean, I think this is his second fight in this division with this weight, Joey. And
Yeah.
I mean, Bibble is so Canelo usually fights taller guys. Okay. Bibbles, I think, believe is a little bit smaller than him, but I think he has a lot more power. And I think this is something to show right here. I really do. I think Canelo is going to go down. It's going to be a great fight. It's probably going to go, I don't think at the distance, but If it goes decisions, I'm gonna give the to Dimitri. I'm gonna give the edge to
Uh,
Dimitri. I really am.
Getting back to talking about corruption and scorecards, if it goes to a decision, unless Canelo's getting slaughtered, I don't see a decision not going Canelo's way. Unfortunately,
Yeah, I mean, you
Cinco
just
de
like
Mayo weekend and everything else, I just don't see how.
yeah, I know. Just like in basketball, you got to give the Kevin Durant's, the LeBron James, the foul call, of
Yeah,
course, driving down the lane. So you're definitely going to give it to, Canelo here. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, if it goes there and it's a clear cut,
yeah,
let's say there's a 110-8 round in there somewhere. If it happens, that might be the clear edge for that 2 point advantage. But I just think Dimitri is actually going to show him something tonight. I really do. I mean, I don't know, Joe. I just have that feeling, like I just don't know. Especially that little weight there is going to happen too.
yeah.
I just think Dimitri is going to hit him this Saturday night.
You think it's gonna catch up to him finally? I mean,
I
moving
think
up in weight class and taking the belts, you think it's finally gonna catch up to him?
I think it is, Joey. I think it's it's time for this new guy here. I mean, I'm looking at his press conference a couple of days ago, and he said that he's going to come out and he's just going to pound this guy. He's just going to make him realize that this was the fight he shouldn't have took. Uh,
Yeah, and that's the
um,
biggest thing with Canelo now, I think. I feel like he's become such a spectacular. I'm I'm tripping over my tongue here. I apologize, but he's become such a show and such a huge entertainment uh, aspect of his boxing now that I feel like most of the boxers he's fighting recently are already defeated before the match even starts. The
right,
spotlight
right.
and just how big of a uh, crowd with Canelo attracts, I just feel like most of them are already defeated in the head before the fight even happens. And if he's
Exactly.
saying what you're saying, he's saying this might go a little bit differently. I just think until something shows me otherwise, uh, Canelo by however means. But hopefully this is a fight because the last one was pretty good there, and Canelo got him with that. Was he like bust his eye socket?
It was like, or just like the MB thing, like the orbital
Yeah,
fracture or something like that. I mean, he
yeah,
has
that was
power.
bad.
I'm not going to take anything away from him, but I think I'm going to go Dimitri here for some reason. I just think it's the weight class. I think this guy is just the way he speaks. He has nothing to lose. I mean, you're going against the legend here. That his only loss was really, just one loss out there. And I think about it. I think this Dimitri's times this time. I just, as a betting person, the odds I look at it, Joey, are plus 600 for Dimitri.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
I
put
think
money
I just
there.
might take that. I mean, to me, I I don't know. I think Dimitri knocks. I don't think he knocks him out, Joey. I don't think it's going to be a knockout, but I think it's going to do a decision, and that's what scares me about it right there. If it goes
Yeah.
decision, it's like we spoke to all night. I don't want to leave it up to the judges, man. I hate that. I really do.
Yeah, Canelo, I mean, he's usually the last couple of years, as far as I can remember, he's kind of cleaned Cinco de Mayo weekend. He's
Right.
kind of made it a big atmosphere type thing. Where is this fight taking place? Is this in Jerry
I'm
World?
looking up real quick.
Usually
Yeah,
in the last couple of fights he's had them at like AT&T Stadium a couple of fights.
I'm trying to look at it to where it's actually at. Let's see.
We're just trying to think of in terms of his fans coming from like Mexico and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Canelo fight location. Let's see. Elephant location. It's in the T-Mobile. No, no, no. Wait, no, no. That's the last one. Uh,
Let me see if I can see too while you're looking. Because what's
yeah,
I think's
looks like it's now.
T-Mobile this weekend.
T-Mobile. Yeah,
Is it T-Mobile?
I think it is because this now that's 2019, Joey, that they're showing me there.
Let's see.
Doesn't really can't even see it here. Show me the weight class.
It is T-Mobile.
Yeah, it is T-Mobile.
Yeah,
Holy
I
crap!
thought for some reason I thought the UFC was at T-Mobile.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought there. Yeah. Wow. I mean, Vegas
No,
is a
UFC's in Phoenix.
is it in Phoenix?
The UFC's in Phoenix this weekend,
Okay,
so that
cool.
makes
Okay.
sense.
All right. So you're thinking Canelo go? Do you think he goes the distance with this, Joey, or no?
The Canelo we've been seeing recently, he just seems to go for that knockout punch. He doesn't leave it up to the judges' scorecard anymore. But I felt like his last fight would have went to the scorecard if he hadn't clipped him with with that orbital. So it could go to the scorecard, but I honestly wouldn't be shocked. And betting, I'd probably take Canelo by knockout just because that gives you a little better
Wow. Canelo by knockout, huh? That's pretty crazy. We go Canelo by knockout. I think the odds are almost 600 as well, Joey. Hey, Joe, I don't know if you're there, but I think you froze up on me or something there. All right. Well, I think I lost Joey for a second there, but yeah, I think I lost Joey for a second. But I mean, let's talk about, if Joe hopefully comes back on here for a second. But Joey, I mean, if you hop back on, let's talk about this pay-per-view Mayweather fight happening. We have Mayweather fighting again versus Moore, his actually sparring partner, one of his sparring partners from before. And to me, this is just another spectacle of money with the Floyd, Money Mayweather team here. I don't know how they're actually going to say this is really going to be a fight here because this fight is just going to be a joke. They're in Dubai, which is millions and millions of dollars out there. But to me, it's just a spectacle of another event like a Logan Paul fight, Mayweather versus McGregor type fight here. So to me, it's just going to be a complete joke. So to me, I don't even really want to get into it because Mayweather to me is just he's already 50-0. He's already suppressed anybody as the pound for pound fighter, the best in the world, the best in history, going back. But I know there's to each their own, saying Muhammad Ali, people like that. But I mean, Rocky Marciano, people, going back to the olden days. But to me, it's a little bit harder to see someone like a Mayweather, in these kind of fights. To me, it just ruins his image of fighting out there. So let's see if we get Joey back here. All right, we still have a little technical difficulties with Joey here, but it's fine. We'll keep on going here. Yeah, I don't understand what's going on, but hey, listen, we'll keep, just like I said with the Mayweather fight. It is what it is, but I just feel that Mayweather to me is a type of money, like he's Money Mayweather, but still, it's just a.
Hey, I'm back.
Oh, there it is.
I don't
Okay,
know
Joey.
what happened there. Something
It's
happened
all
with my
good. It's all
computer. I'm on
good.
my phone now.
It's all good. Just turn your phone sideways, Joey.
All right, my bad.
All right, cool, cool. Joey, I was just talking about the Mayweather fight, man. To me, this is a joke of a fight. I mean, we all know Mayweather was pretty much to a lot, millions and millions out there, the best pound for pound fighter in the world, in history. But I don't want to get into that. There's like Muhammad Ali, people like that, Marco Marciano, people like that. But that's another topic we can get into. But what do you think of this fight? Is it just going to be another spectacle like the Logan Pauls and things like that? I know you. No, I got to ask you real quick. Did you tune into that McGregor fight with Mayweather?
I did. Just because I'm a fan of McGregor.
Right, right.
Um,
I asked you,
I kind of predicted the outcome, what was going to happen, exactly what happened.
right.
But you always got to tune in just because it's Mayweather. But I probably won't be tuning in this one, just because, like you said, it's a little bit of a joke.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a money grab. 'Cause I'm not sure if you followed the reports at all or anything, but Logan Paul is still trying to get paid from the fight.
Wow.
Mayweather still hasn't paid him from that fight. So I'm wondering if he has financial problems or whatnot. I'm actually going to switch over real fast while I got my computer back up.
Okay, sounds good.
Switch
Yeah,
over.
I'm going to tune into it, Joey, because I think it's a spectacle of money. I mean, he is known as May Money, the Money Mayweather team here. So there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm not even going to tune into it, Joey, because I think it's a spectacle. It makes the sport to me like a joke to me. You left the league, top pound per pound fighter in the world. You make $50 million a fight. What is the sense to do this? I mean, your legacy's out there. If you want to fight somebody, I still want to see Mayweather Pacquiao one more time. I'd pay to see that fight, Joey. I mean,
Yeah.
do something like that. Don't fight your former sparring mate in more. Like what is this?
It's a money grab. He has that lavish lifestyle. Even though he's made boatloads of
Right.
cash in his career, that money always runs out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
How
who knows?
out of almost $500 million? I mean, do you really need an extra 15, $20 million? I mean, do you really need
Did you
that?
see the way he lives? Carries around bags of cash and just
Yeah, I know, Joey. I mean, I think his breakfast is like my yearly meal, bill, whatever, like, oh my God, you're right. I mean, lifestyle is, Man, I'd like to see him live in our world right now with this situation of gas being $5 a gallon. I don't think that even worries about him, you know?
Seriously. Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, it's just spectacle. And then did you talk about where it's taking place?
Yeah, in Dubai on top of a helicopter
How
pad
like
landing,
it
really.
just like it just
It
one circus
like,
on top of another on
it's
top of
money
another.
value, that's all it does. I mean, all the, the top dudes out there, the oil people gonna be out there, and it's just like, I can imagine the ticket sales, Joey, you're probably looking at maybe 50 grand or even more on a
Because I wonder how many seats they can actually fit there.
I didn't see that, but man, in Dubai, like, come on, dude,
Yeah, it's
really?
all money there.
Like, big time. Yeah, well,
And then
Joey,
the co-main event, isn't it Silva is the co-main event?
yeah, Silva's gonna be fighting in the co-main event. I mean, that's something. What do you think about that one?
I'm interested to see him. I find it curious. Anderson Silva's name, I always revert back to when
Uh-huh.
Jake Paul's name gets talked about. You
Yeah.
see Jake Paul calling out all
Mhm.
these retired MMA fighters. Recently called out Michael Bisping, who has one
Right,
eye.
right.
Why not call Anderson Silva, who's still active?
Yeah.
He's older. So if you're as great a boxer as you say you are, you should be
Mhm.
able to walk through Silva. He hasn't. People have been begging for him to call him out. Doesn't seem to want to do that. Silva's still a legit boxer. I
Yes.
think I think if Silva can look a little bit good here, um, we end up getting that dream match they're talking about for a while there, Silva Jones. They always wanted to do that, so that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's transfer over into the UFC, Joey. I know you and Chris last week touched on UFC 274, so let's not jump into that real quick, but let's talk about one of the biggest things that you told me today, what's going to happen. There is a rumor about John's Bone Jones coming back. Like, Joey, I read the article you sent me, man. I'm like on cloud nine if this dude comes back, Joey. Like, what did you hear, and what do you think it's going to happen? If it, I know it's not boasted, it's set, but it's not. It's a rumor basically right now.
Yeah,
So what do you think, Joey, and what do you think this is gonna entail? Of what is your take of this? I wanna hear you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, it's set, or who knows what it truly is.
Mhm.
Just because with the UFC, we know until they step into the octagon,
Right,
um, injuries, contract disputes, it just always seems like there's always at least one or two fighters that pull from a card
right.
more than even boxing, it just always seems like something. But either yesterday or this morning, UFC posted a video of Dana White walking into his office.
Mhm,
And it just so happened that in his office wall he had like a war board almost they called it, and it had all of the upcoming cards that are taking place. One of those cards was July 3rd. That was
mhm,
headlined by Izzy. And
right.
it so happened that the co-main event they had was Jemima versus Nate Diaz,
Mhm,
which is a huge fight if that comes to fruition. We'll see there. But the next pay-per-view after that, it had it scheduled for July 30th.
mhm.
Um, it was headlined by John Jones versus Stipe,
Wow.
which would be huge. Now it's just, and like you said, until it's actually announced, who knows? But I mean, that was on there. That was on his board. And
Mhm,
we know the Izzy fight was already announced. No
right,
dates were set, but seeing that on there led me to believe that these were actually legit matchups that they were currently working on. Just because that Izzy
right,
fight was already announced, and we know who his opponent was, and it was on there, and his correct opponent was on there, so it made me believe that maybe that was legit. And I think
mhm.
you sent me a picture yesterday of Jones looking just ginormous.
Yeah, Joey,
Uh,
I'm telling you, like, this dude, like, I know we watch, all sports, and to me, he's looked like a Barry Bonds before. Not he wasn't like that, but like a Barry Bonds with the Pittsburgh Pirates in his first days, and then how he boosted his bodies up. This is what this guy looks like, a total brick house. I mean,
yeah,
I'm scared just by looking at him. I don't even wanna get in the ring with the guy. But, being out of the ring for that long, Joey, you think that's gonna be a setback for him or no?
there's always a ring rust,
Right,
but John Jones is John Jones. I'm not a
right,
fan of the dude just because of everything that's going on with him and just his history, domestic violence, and
right,
so yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the guy, but you can't deny his greatness.
right.
Um, so even with ring rust, I still think it'll be a very competitive fight. Now, who
Mhm,
knows moving up to heavyweight where you don't have that huge advantage anymore. Now, Stipe is a smaller heavyweight,
right,
um, who usually comes in around like 230,
mhm,
which is 30 pounds under the heavyweight limit. So he's a smaller heavyweight, so that might still help Jones. He might still have the advantage a little bit in terms of size.
mhm,
Uh, but I mean, Stipe's. right below the champion. He's 1A in terms of the division. So
Right.
who knows? Ring rust in terms of like you said with that, I just don't know. It's a huge what if, just
It's
great
something we've been
matchup.
Yeah, this is something we've been waiting for as a fight fan for a long time, I mean, I'm looking at a little article now and it says the heavyweight GOAT versus the MMA GOAT. What more can you ask for?
Yeah.
You know, this is gonna be a huge card. I mean, this could probably be card of the year most likely. It's been waiting for a while. But just like you said with the ring rust, John Jones is John Jones.
Yeah.
He is what he is,
The
and
freak, the whole family.
that's what I'm saying, right? I mean, his brother, I think, played for the Ravens before, was something like that, wasn't he? One of the defensive linemen for the Ravens or something.
Yeah,
I
I think his other brother's Chandler Jones, right?
I think it is Chandler Jones. I'm not sure if it
Yeah,
is.
it's Chandler Jones. Yeah, he
The
was with the
entire
Cardinals
family,
last year. I think
their
he moved
entire
on from the Cardinals this year, but he's a stud,
right,
stud
right.
DN. I mean, the whole family just. And he has another brother that was talking about the Ravens, but just the family across the board, just genetic freaks. Some people are
Yes,
just born that way, and he's one of them.
and I agree. I mean, I'm waiting for this fight. I mean, I'd like to see, I hate to say it, but I'd like to see even a John Jones at 80%, versus some of these other fighters just to see what he gives you. This is a freak ability. He can
Yeah,
knock you out with one punch. He can ground and pound you. He can, take you down and just submit you, do whatever he really wants to do to you. But I'm really waiting to see this. But, speaking of Miacek, what do you think of, him? Do you think he can handle a John Jones? What do you think about that? If this happened, the speculation
yeah.
does, and it happens. What do you think?
I just think it's gonna be a great matchup, especially just because Mioci's used to the size. He's used to fighting monsters. He fought Ngannou. He was able to grapple. I mean, Ngannou's definitely. We
Mhm.
can say Jones is an athletic freak all we want,
Right.
but Ngannou is just a monster, and he was
Okay.
he was able to withstand his power. He was able to grapple. And he was able to control that fight. Jones is definitely a better MMA fighter all around than Ngannou,
Mhm.
but I don't think the power advantage is going to be so huge with Jones as it typically is at light heavyweight. So I'm just curious to see when you can't impose just your athletic abilities alone
Okay.
against a bigger guy or the same size. I mean, you look back at some of Jones's hardest fights, Gustafson. They were
Mhm.
similar size. He wasn't able to impose his will because he didn't have that size advantage.
Right.
Led to a great fight. So I'm just curious seeing and also the power. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if he's been hit by let alone a heavyweight of that caliber.
exactly.
Who when they
I
hit
mean,
you, they put you out.
it's hard to say, just like you said, the power of him getting hit. Can he handle it? Does he have a glass chin with the power, of a heavyweight of his caliber? Is he going to be able to withstand that? Is he going to adapt? Is he going to, overcompensate for, that power and say, I gotta find a different way here and be scared
Yeah.
of that? It's a huge, if we all want to see it, but do you think this could possibly go the distance? Do you think that
I
being a
don't think
fighter?
so. I don't.
You don't
I
think
don't.
so?
Unless they turn into unless Jones gets hit early on and he realizes that he's not
Okay,
able to take it on the feet and he has to turn it into maybe a grappling, more push you against the fence and grind it out type of fight, which he's
right.
definitely capable of. He can take it wherever he honestly wants to. Um, but the biggest thing that's being overlooked in terms of this jump
Mhm.
is the difference between light heavyweight and heavyweight is a bigger jump than any other weight class in the
Yeah.
UFC.
Yes, you're right.
205 to 265 is
It's huge,
huge.
huge. I
It's
mean,
not
everyone's like, yeah,
155 to 170
right.
it's not it's such a big
Yes.
jump that
Yeah,
that's going to be the biggest
you're
thing. And
looking
then
at
what's
a
it going to
15
do to
pound, yeah,
Jones
you're
putting
looking
that
at a
much weight?
15-pound jump to another division, and
Yeah.
you're talking 60-pound jump here. This is
Yeah.
huge. I mean, just alone, if you're a lighter coming in and you're a grappler and you wanna get down to the mat, that can control a lot of,
Yeah.
this match here. That is, to me, it's boring, but it is in the sport. We look at Khabib, how many times he took you down and just wrestled you like a
Yeah.
bear.
Methodical. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to do in the UFC what you have to do, but I can't wait to this fight. I hope Dana White gets this on the card. I really want to see this happen because I've been waiting for this a while. But let me ask you this real quick, Joey. I know you and Chris talked about Nagano last week. Okay, does the winner get Nagano, or
Well, I
does
think he's
Nagano say
done.
I'm
I
done?
think he's
I think
done. I
you think
actually
so.
think this will probably be for the heavyweight title.
You think so?
I
You think
think
maybe
so.
that, you think maybe that'll draw Nagano and say, hey, you know what? These guys are talking smack about me. That either John Jones, he's been out of the business for a while. Maybe I should come back and beat him, or are they going to say John Jones is just the better fighter? You know how it is, Joe. You're the
Yeah.
man out there. Francis Ngannou, he is what he is. He's a beast as well. Do you think it sits in his mind with a lot of smack talk on Twitter or whatever you're seeing it, UFC world talking? Hey, don't if you come back, you're going to lose to John Jones. Do you think that draws his attention, saying, "Hey, I'm going to come back for one last time," or is it just a money issue where he's not going to do it? What do you think?
I think it's the money. I think seeing like Ngannou's upbringings and the life he came from, and I don't think that that smack talk drives him.
Okay,
Um, but I think Jones is the right opponent to bring him back.
right.
Ngannou wants a money fight. John
Mhm.
Jones,
He wants
after
to get his
just
name back
getting
up.
through Stipe
Exactly.
versus Ngannou of what happens there, that right there,
Mhm.
um, that sells the fight, and I think Ngannou gets the money he wants. I think that brings Ngannou back.
I think it does. Just like you said, John Jones is using it as a stepping platform. He's been out of the business for a while. Basically he's been blackballed from the system for a while. So when he comes back and fights this come in, if it does happen and he wins this card, all he can say is like, I want Nagano. I want this. You're next. Come and get me. And I think
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest, pay-per-view fights for him money wise. And that's an example from Nagano to say, I want to be paid. Well, you fight John Jones, you're going to get paid. Come back
you're
to
gonna get
fight
paid. Yeah,
people want to see. So here, you know what? John Jones proved that he won or Stip won. Saying, whoever wins this can use this as a platform and say, Nagano, you were all about the money. Come and get it. You want me?
I
Come
don't
and get it.
think Stipe. I don't think Stipe brings him back though. If
You don't think
Stipe
so?
wins, I don't think it brings him back. That'll be I think their third fight at that point. I don't know if it brings him the money that I mean people love Stipe, don't get me wrong, but it's not John Jones. It's not
Yeah.
uh up there top 5 GOAT of I mean, don't get
Right.
me wrong, you got Stipe is great, but John Jones is just in the terms
Yeah.
of UFC almost a GOAT, I think.
Mhm.
St. Pierre, Jones, they're 2 of the battles of who is the GOAT of the UFC, but
Right.
I also don't think people are and that's my biggest question with Jones is, how does that weight affect Jones's ability? Adding that much weight and muscle, it might slow you down a little bit. It might take some of Jones's best aspects away from it.
I agree with that. I mean, just like, saying it's like a lot of, like with my ex-wife, she used to tell me like, how do you feel having on an extra 60 pounds of, having a baby? That's what it's like. You're gaining not 60 pounds, but you're gaining all this weight and what you're used to doing. Your cardio might not be the same. You don't know your body yet. You're ready for 3 to 5 rounds, but when you're leaning on a heavyweight fighter,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of wear and tear, especially if Miacek takes him to the ground and or on a fence, that takes a lot of your energy
Yeah,
out
and
that
just
people don't
puts his
understand
weight on him.
from you, right? You're holding up 2 bodies basically. You're in the leg, he's holding your leg or your body up against the fence. You're fighting your body weight plus his body weight. That takes a toll on you. I mean, this is something I've been waiting to see. Like you said, John Jones he is to me like a Conor McGregor. He's a name draw, plus him being out this long. We want to see him come back and we want to see what he's going to do. And just
Yeah.
like you said, if Miacek wins it, I don't think it doesn't. It probably don't bring back Nagano, but I think if John Jones wins this fight, there is only going to be one thing to do. You want to cement yourself, and John Jones is going to be the first one to say, "I'm here. I'm back. Come get me."
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because what other I mean, the heavyweight division is really good right now, but I don't see any other
No, I
I
don't
mean,
either.
John Jones is a huge fight, and you're talking about blackballing. I don't know if it was really blackballing Jones. Um, DC kind of
Yeah.
ran the heavyweight division for a while. I think Jones was just done with that saga. Jones was just beat him twice, or was it twice or 3 times soundly,
Yeah.
Uh, soundly. He beat him, there's nothing left to prove. So I just think Jones realized that if he's coming to heavyweight division, he's only fighting the top. And
Right.
when DC was on top, I just think that was something that he didn't want to get back into.
Hmm.
Now with DC gone and retired, and Ngannou back on top, I think that or Steep, whoever at this point whatever they tried to do with the heavyweight belt, that brought him back. I feel like,
Right. I mean,
just
I think
because
comes
I
with
think
the
he was
ranking,
done with
doesn't it? I
DC.
think you have still Cyril Gain at second over Steve. What do you think about that? Do you think he deserves it because he lost to Magano? Even though both of them
Yeah,
lost to Magano already, but still, do you think Steep is third and Gain is three? How do you feel about that? Where do you adjust those two?
that just leads me to believe that UFC truly can't get Ngannou back. Because I don't think if you know Ngannou's gone, you obviously then don't move the guy who we just lost a close fight to down
Yeah.
because he's obviously then going to be your next contender again anyway. And I think I
Ex-
just read that he actually was just booked for a fight. I think it was in France coming up, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, I just don't. I think they did that just because they know Nagano's gone,
Okay,
and
so you're
then
gonna put 2 and 3 still the same, and then when John Jones comes back, if this fight does happen, are you going? Let's just speculate, Joey. Let's just say John Jones comes out and he beats by a sound decision, or just say wins the fight. Wins the fight. Does he over jump Kane at Gain at the 2 and make him the number one contender?
well, I think it's for if that fight happens, I think it's for the interim belt.
Oh, is it really?
And I
Okay.
think they say interim, just because that kind of leaves the door open for Nagano,
Right. Let's
because
say
he's never officially lost the
he's a
belt or
unified champion. Yeah, he has to make it come back to a unified champion. Like,
yeah. And then if he decides to say I'm done,
okay.
if he decides to say I'm done, and then I'm not fighting UFC anymore, and
Right.
he gets the Fury fight, then obviously Jones would become the full champion, or he would fight someone for the undisputed champion of the world, and
Right.
that would probably be Gain at that point. Uh, but I just think they're doing this to bait Nagano back because that was the fight that he kept asking
Yeah.
for, and
Right.
Jones kept asking for. That's the fight that I think brings him back.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, it's just interesting, an interesting
But let me ask you this:
rumor or speculation
you?
at this point.
Let me ask you this: as a UFC fan, and we talked about the business. We talked about the business, Joey. Do you think that okay? John Jones has been out what 2 years, I believe now, a little bit over 2 years, right?
Yeah, who was this? Yeah, I think it's been more than 2 years, honestly, because we've been in
Yeah,
the
I'm
pandemic
2 years. I know
for
it's been a
almost two
little bit.
years, and then
Do you
he
think
fought even before the pandemic.
right? Do you even think that how this justifies the other UFC fighters saying, "Hey, this dude's been out. I know he's John Jones, but the dude's been out for let's say 2.5 years, 3 years. Let's just say that. How do you think it goes to the other fighters saying, like, hey, listen, man, this is total BS. What's the other guy's name? Tuivasa. I think he's four. Then you got Derek Lewis.
Yeah, that's who's fighting Gage. That's who's fighting
Or is it?
Gage.
Okay, okay. But
Yeah.
how do you think they feel, Joey? Like, okay, John Jones has been out of the league for 3 or 4 years, and he comes back and gets the fight with Steve, and it's for the interim championship. Like, how do you think
Yeah.
they feel about that? Like, this is. Do you think this is why it draws a lot of fighters to move away from the UFC?
Yes and no. Obviously, everyone wants to be champion. Everyone wants to get to the top of the mountain.
Right,
But at the end of the day, like we said before, it's a business.
right,
And
right,
who brings you more money? No offense to Stipe, a
right.
championship fight against Stipe or a championship fight against Jones.
Oh,
So
sure.
yeah, it sucks in the interim that you missed out on the opportunity for a title fight. But
Mhm.
if you keep grinding, keep getting to that point, uh, we got a comment here.
Somebody got to knock out that sword swallower, Jordan Levy. You get that one, Joey?
I don't.
Me either. I don't know who this is, but hey, listen, nobody see grown man twerking in the cage. Hey, listen, hey, you know what? First of all, we thank you for tuning in. We appreciate that you took your time out there to say, hey, I don't like seeing guys, sweat on each other in a cage, but to each their own, brother. I'm a UFC fan. My man Joey's a UFC fan. We enjoy watching it. If this isn't your cup of tea, there's others, shows out there you can watch. There's other, knitting shows out there, soccer shows, whatever you want to do. Maybe the UFC is not for you, brother, but hey, I'm just going to let you know you're missing out on some huge action out there, especially this John Jones fight if it happens. But once again, we thank you for tuning in every Tuesday night at 10:15 on the Fight Club 215. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, we do. Thank you. But yeah,
Mhm.
getting back to that, like I said, uh, I just think, like I said, it's all about the money at the end of the day. So Jones brings you the max dollar in
I
terms
agree.
of that. So yeah, it sucks in the interim that you missed out on that, but you'd much rather fight Jones on the pay-per-view main event
I agree.
than who else is up there. Because think about it, just say Steve lost his next fight.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, there's some exciting matchups in the heavyweight division, but are any of them really needle movers?
Right.
That as
Exactly.
in terms of Jones, like it's money, and everyone wants to make the money, and they're all bitching about the pay compared to boxing and stuff. But I mean, there's only a couple guys in the UFC that attract the non-UFC fans, and
Mm.
Jones is one of them. Because that's where the money come from, honestly. Like if it's just UFC fans buying that pay-per-view, it's probably not going to be as high numbers. But that's where Conor McGregor's pay-per-views are always bigger because he's
Right.
bringing the fans that aren't UFC fans to it just because of who he is. I think Jones one of those things that also do that.
Well, I know Jones, I think, is what, 33, 34 years old? Now,
Yeah,
if
so
he comes
not a
back
lot of time.
yeah, if he comes back, Joey, and he wins this fight, convincingly, let's put it that way, how long do you think he's gonna run this division? And if there's and let's say Nagano's out of the picture, let's say if he is or he's not. Let's look at it both ways. If he wins this fight versus Stipe convincingly at 34 years old, how long do you think he's gonna run in this division? And if there is anybody that can beat him?
See, that's so hard to say in the heavyweight division just because that
Right.
division more than any, the next shot could be the last.
Exactly. It's
So
one
it's
punch.
just hard to say someone can actually run
Everybody has
that
a puncher's
division.
everybody
Yeah.
has a puncher's chance in this division, man.
Yeah, so just especially with the smaller gloves,
Mhm.
it's just so hard to say that someone can run the division because it's just hard. I mean, we look at Steve as one of the goats after
Right.
what, 3 defenses just because it's
Mhm.
just so hard in that division.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I
So
go ahead.
he could definitely make a run. It's just hard to predict that happening just because like I said, one punch and then with who is behind them, the strikers that are there, it's just hard to say. I mean, Greg Hardy was able to survive a little bit in the UFC just because he had that power.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't even like. I mean, he's a former cowboy, Joey, but I can't stand him because just like you said with, the John Jones out the octagon issues, with
Yeah.
the abuse and things like that. I'm not down with that, of course. But you're
Well, he
right.
was there for people to tune in just to see him lose. You know, that
Yeah,
Jones, McGregor,
mhm,
Hardy, they just as much as they have fans who want to see them win, people tune in to see them lose.
right. And on the other hand, like, hey, you beat this person. I want you to get your ass kicked and see how it feels. Things
Yeah.
like that. But you're right. I mean, in heavyweight division, it's everybody has a puncher's chance. One strike and you're gone. That's what makes this division, I think, hands down, the must see division in the UFC. One punch takes you away. I don't care if you're a plus, minus 2,000, favorite. One punch can take you
Yeah.
down no matter who you are, no matter who you're fighting, whatever. One punch, man, can it's changed history of the UFC in a
Yeah,
matter of
it's just wild, you know,
really,
just like you said, with the smaller gloves and the power and just the
right.
speed that these
Mhm.
guys move at, it's just the
Right.
human jaw is not meant to take that type of impact.
Yes. I mean, I was watching my fiance Katie, she really doesn't watch any kind of sports, but we were watching one of the Derek Lewis fights before and she actually sat next to me and watched it and she's like, that guy's gonna win. I was like, well, don't disrespect the other guy here. I know he's a little bit smaller, but one punch changes everything here. And she was just like, it's insane how these guys hit. Like, I think I would be dead. And I said, yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
dead too if I got hit by one of
Yeah,
these
we
dudes.
probably would be, honestly.
I'd be in a coma for the rest of my life.
Yeah. There's a Derek Lewis fight where he fought, I think it was, Volkov, where
Yeah.
he was getting just dominated most of the fight, and he just came back with one punch and just
Mhm.
put him out. Like
That's
that's what they do.
exactly like you look at these guys and the power just invested in their bodies. Like you're getting, hit by a Mack truck out there, and it's just insane. But moving on from that, Joey, I know you have a topic that you want to talk about. I haven't seen this in a while, actually, but if you want to talk about this, let me know. Where people can listen to this, watch it, because I know it's on tonight. I think the season premiere was tonight, wasn't it, Joey?
The season premiere was tonight. So the season premiere actually just ended. It was, I believe it's 10 to 11.
Mhm.
Um,
Who are the coaches this year? Who are they?
this year it's Nunez,
Oh, yeah.
Pena.
Okay,
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. We
mhm,
always see some huge stars
right.
come out of it. Let me look up real fast because UFC bounced around so much. I believe it's
Is there a rumor
the.
that McGregor was going to be one of the coaches sometime? I don't know if it's
So
real.
he was a coach. Or was yeah, he was a coach for Faber
Was
a
he?
couple years ago. But
Okay.
that's when I don't know if you remember him and Garbrandt
Mhm.
had a little scuffle before Cody before he was actually big.
Okay.
But that's when it was when they were the alpha out
Mhm.
there, and TJ Dillashaw was threatening to leave and all other stuff. So
Yeah.
Connor kept coming after them. It was like a huge brawl. But yeah, McGregor did it against Dillashaw, against Faber.
Okay.
I think that's one of the few UFC like Ultimate Fighters where the coaches didn't fight afterwards.
I
Um,
want to actually look forward to that. Like the beef between these
yeah,
guys.
I'm looking it up real fast. I'm not sure. But can you still see me on camera?
Yeah.
Okay, come on. I have another tab open. I just want to see.
Yep.
Yeah, so it looks like it's on ESPN Plus.
Okay, great. Check that out.
Um,
What time's that come on, Joey, for people out there that want to check it out for the first time or whatever?
so it just ended. It's actually 10 to 11.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so 10 to 11. So what we'll do starting next week is we'll talk about the
Back to the
previous
recap,
the
definitely.
previous who we like and stuff like that. I guess for next week we'll talk about like our favorites maybe because it'll be the first time we're introduced to the contestants and see who's on there and stuff.
Okay.
But you always see some big time stars come out of there. So it's always gonna
No,
be
let me
interesting
ask
to
you
see
this
who
real
we
quick.
see.
I mean, in UFC history, who do you think the biggest fighter ever come out of a Ultimate Fighting Championship show? Who do you think was the best one?
I'm not gonna pick who the best one was, but what I'm gonna say is what the best one was. Obviously, the first one, uh, Griffin Bonner.
Okay.
That kind of saved the UFC, that show. They
Okay.
were kind of on the downward spiral there.
Hmm.
And then that show overall in that season, and then that fight kind of really saved the UFC and brought them
Okay.
kind of into a more main event picture and more brought them more fans that normally didn't really watch the UFC because they thought maybe it was people used to call human cockfighting and stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
it kind of showed them that it truly is a sport and kind of opened
Right.
people's eyes just because it was such a classic. I don't know if you remember that fight,
Yeah.
Bonner Griffin.
So long ago, I gotta check it out. Now that you
Yeah,
told
I
me
mean
that.
that's just a classic. So I think that overall was definitely the most important
Okay.
season ever. But I mean, you've had greats. You've had Nate Diaz on
Right.
there
Right.
before. Not so great, but just a huge name, Kimbo Slice.
Yeah.
Just
I remember that his cardio was so bad. Like Joey was just he was a true example of a heavyweight just with one punch, Joey. You know,
yeah,
he lived by that one punch saying, "Hey, all I need is just one swing of the right hand and I could be the champion of the world." You know, on the other hand, if it goes past 2 rounds, I'm gonna be gasping for air pretty much, you know. But
yeah.
you never know. I mean, it's just like we said, one punch could end it all. But yeah, definitely next week, Joey. I hope like Chris come back. It's been a pleasure hopping on with you. You know, I know next week you guys are probably talking about the Canelo fight because that's this weekend. You
Yeah,
know,
and
then
then we're
about
talking about
other
isn't
fighters out there. Yeah. Hmm.
274 this weekend also.
Yes, it is.
So we're
Hmm.
talking about that. Seeing how our picks pan out,
Yeah, you know what
going
I think
from
we
there.
do, Joey, is, like I hop on here with you guys once in a while. I always tune in, behind the stage watching it. And I think next week what we'll do is for the following fights, hey, maybe we'll put in $5 each and we'll create a account where we can see where, the Fight Club 215 takes you. Let's see where we ended up in a year with if we can go out to dinner at the end of the year, or we can just, hey, have one of the callers say, you owe us this kind of money. Well, I don't have it this year. I'm sorry, I lost it on sports betting, but let's just see where we go because I think we have some good, I think you and Chris are intelligent enough, to know the fights. You guys know it in and out, and I try to chime in with you. I'm trying to hold my own with you, filling shoes of you and Chris, but it's let's just keep it going, man. I enjoy doing the show with you, but anything you want to final thoughts out there, Joey, or anything?
Um, Final thoughts. Joel, get back as soon as possible.
Yes,
Last
definitely.
night, last night was last
And
night was
we like
ugly.
the fans out there, even though I'm a Cowboys fan, Joey's an Eagles fan. We do root for our Sixers. And Joel, please, man, I don't need to get that orbital fracture. Put the mask on, be the black ninja, whatever you want to call it, the
Phantom
black
of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera guy, and get out there and win this game too, man. Because listen,
If I gotta watch
next
DeAndre Jordan again, I'm gonna
I gotta
shoot
have you
right
wrap
up
this
in
up
the
for
eyes.
Game 6 because Game 6 is previewed at next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And listen, I can't be watching the Sixers and watching the two UFC, the UFC show. So you better get wrap this up and win 4 straight, and let's win 4-1.
Yeah, just steal this one tomorrow night.
Yes,
Lowry's out again. Just
yeah, I
that
know.
we
That's
just need Doc to be smarter with the rotation. We were
yeah,
down 6 with 10 minutes left, and the lineup was Forkon, Reed,
I know.
Thibault, and like, what are you doing?
I know. Doc is the worst adjuster, game management coach I've ever seen in my life.
Can't
Like,
adjust in game.
yeah. Well, my final thoughts, Joey, is listen, I appreciate you letting me hop on here with you tonight, taking the place of Christmas for one night. I really enjoyed it, man. You bring the knowledge, you and Chris bring it all, and I appreciate you guys doing the show. Where can they find you at, Joey? Where can they find the Fight Club 215 at?
So we're
So we're
for now
for
we're
now
on
we're on
Facebook. We're currently in the process of making an Instagram, possibly
Right.
also a TikTok, just to
Cool.
kind of maybe put some snippets of our show up there, or maybe some breaking news like what happened today, to kind of tell people what to look at, and possibly also Twitter. but
Okay.
we stream on YouTube and Facebook right now.
Okay.
And then Twitch might come on down the line.
Okay. Yeah, let me just add a little bit. Yeah, we're part of Devereaux Sports actually too. It's a Devereaux Sports podcast where you can find them on YouTube. We are pretty much on YouTube at the Fight Club 215 podcast on YouTube anytime. Just like you said, we might be on Twitch in a couple days, hopefully. We do stream on Facebook as well under Devereaux Sports. That is DEVEREAUX Sports Podcast. And real quick, just to shout out all of our shows out there. Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. we have the Goblin Rink with Pat Bernard, and followed by the Breakfast and Body Slams with Chio Frost every Sunday morning. You can check them out. And on Monday nights, please check out my boy Joe Sullivan, aka the John, every Monday at 6 p.m. with Sully Squad and his boys. They bring the fire. They'll be talking about the Sixers coming up, hopefully with a guaranteed win. But and of course Tuesday, you have all you hockey fans out there. I know he talks Flyers, but listen, it ain't about the Flyers. They suck. So here's the deal. He's going to talk about the NHL playoffs, and he brings the heat. Harry Slater with Slater Sinbin at 1 o'clock on the Devereaux Sports as well. And Tuesday nights for all the Union fans. Of course, we have the Attacking Third with Gus Seminaro and Austin Hamill. And you already know every Tuesday night at 10:15, it is the show, the hype show, bringing you all the punches, all the talk about UFC and boxing out there with Joey Woods and of course Chris Diedrich. And I'm a special guest tonight, which I appreciate you guys letting me hop on. And of course, you can check myself out if you don't want to see my ugly face. I understand that. But listen, every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, you got them 215 boys talking all about the Cowboys. Joey, get that shirt off the air. But hey, we talk all about the Cowboys out there, and you can check that out every night, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. with myself, Paul Spencer, and Matt Klein on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, everywhere it is, And of course, on Thursdays, we have Thursday night slams for all you wrestling fans, of course, with Chio Frost and Joey Image. They talk all about the indie wrestling. Joey can touch base on that, what it's about, but it's more about WWE. If there's a pay-per-view, they talk about it all. So as always, please check out every show on Devereaux Sports where we have you covered from UFC, boxing, football, basketball, soccer. We have it all. So please, even wrestling, we have it all out there. So please, always, you know what? It only takes 2 seconds. They'll hit that like button, that smash button. Give us a heart, give us a like, give us a share. And on YouTube, if you're watching, hey, there's one word: subscribe. It all goes a long way because we do this for fun. We do this for the passion. And that's what we do. We do it because the people out there, hopefully you want to hear what we're saying and we want to hear what you're saying. So as always, thank you. Like, share, subscribe. Joey, take it away, man.
Yeah, definitely follow up on Paul. Just hit that like button. You'll be getting like live notifications whenever something comes live on our page. So that'll just, if you can't keep track of the schedule because we have many shows, that'll definitely just send you an update whenever we go live on the page if you like it here on Facebook.
Sounds good. Anything else, Joey?
If I see you back next week, Paul, we'll talk about it. Hopefully, Chris can get that matter done with work. But if not, we'll touch base on the UFC. And trust the
Good.
process.
Sounds good, man. For myself, Paul Spencer, and Joey Woods, and part of Devereaux Sports, powered by Devereaux Sports, produced at Spencer Studios. And as always, Fight Club 215. We're out of here. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.